This chapter is about oppositional identity. It first sets off two different kinds of minorities: immigrant minorities and involuntary minorities. Immigrant minorities are minorities that came to the United States knowing that they were going to expect some differences. These are the type of minorities that tend to be more successful, according to Finn, and the involuntary minorities are the ones that develop oppositional identity. And the involuntary minorities are usually minorities that were forced to come to the United States, like slavery or any kind of servitude. This I find very interesting because at first I thought that I was maybe more towards the involuntary minorities, but I can see why students want develop the oppositional identity, and everything that stands for the United States, the white culture, is what they want to be against. Like, they don't want to have a high vocabulary, because that insinuates that they would be white or too smart for their own good compared to their own culture. As I was thinking about myself and how I play into this, since I'm a Hispanic, firstborn here in the United States, I realized that I think I'm an immigrant minority. My parents immigrated here in a chance for a better future. So they knew that what they were going to come into, and that it wasn't going to be something that was going to be the same. We did keep a lot of our culture, but now for me, I am excluded from my own culture. If I go back to Mexico, they treat me differently because I don't fit in there anymore. But I don't fit in here. And I don't fit in here with the other immigrant minorities because I'm smart. I have acted, I've assimilated more than they have. So I get people talking behind my back and in Spanish, and I'm like, I understand Spanish. I really do. I know how to read, write, and probably better than most of them. But because I'm educated and I can fit in with white people, I am excluded. But I'm also don't fit in completely with white people because I am Hispanic and I am treated horribly sometimes. And you just you're like, really? At this day and age? But yes, sometimes. So like I had a weird time with this chapter. This chapter was interesting. It made me think that I was maybe part of a different part of the minorities, but it turned out I was part of the other ones. And I don't know, it's kind of a foggy thing, but I like how Finn he goes into how there might be two separate types of minorities, and how we act upon it differently, and how we react to assimilation or non-assimilation and keeping our culture. It's not as black and white as it seems, because I find myself to be in a very, very gray area that can sway and go for both of them. So it was an interesting chapter. And as an educator, I feel that we need to understand that there is different cultures out there, and not everybody... Education is not the magic pill. Like they said, like we have a section that has the mainstream educators think that if education happens, like everything will be magically... people just need to be educated, and everything will be all right. But education is not the answer. It is part of the answer, but I think understanding of where other people are coming from is a big part of it. Like knowing who you are teaching, and knowing what you are teaching and how you are teaching it. One example that he gives in the book was about sorry, I'm gonna have to look. It was the Northern Canadian, I think it was the Native Americans, the children. The Athabascan children, how they don't really develop an opinion. It won't go into how mainstream society works, but it goes into knowing what the student's culture is and how to bring about their education. Like for me and my culture, we were taught to respect adults. Even if they were wrong, they were right. And I've had a lot of teachers that were wrong and treated us a little badly, but they were right, so I gave them the benefit of the doubt every single time. It was a huge culture clash when I came into college, because now we're expected to kind of challenge them. And in my culture, we don't. We just, like, even if they're right, we just nod and we're like, yes, you're right. So that's not what they want. They want more of an equal. But for us, adults and children aren't equal. Adults and younger generations aren't equal. Even if I'm now an adult, I still don't feel equal to a lot of my uncles, which is just how we were raised. So I think that what Finn makes great points in saying that we need to know who we are teaching, how we are teaching them, and become familiar with their culture. And it kind of goes in with our TPEs. To know the community in which we teach is a big, huge part of becoming an effective educator. And I think that a whole oppositional identity is a great chapter in kind of putting things into perspective.